Hello everyone, Pineapple here with part 1 of a horror movie trilogy, now franchise, Fear Street. Part 1, 1994. Fear Street is a series based on R.L. Stine's The Goosebump Guys series of the same name, Fear Street. Sure, not a lot is carried over, but as a trilogy of movies made to be seen one after the other, I think it's a really interesting series. But since a new movie came out, I thought we'd take a look at the series, starting with where else? The first one. Overall, I'm a sucker for lore and continuity, so the way these films were produced and how cohesive they are really impressed me, as I assumed these would be an anthology, each movie more standalone. But it's more like a series of TV specials, and that really helps to make these work, but this is Netflix horror, so let's face it, there will be a fair bit to critique along the way, no matter how impressive the making of the series is. And I did find a lot of interesting stuff in the background. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into Fear Street, Part 1, 1994. We start with a really nice cold open starring one of my favourite actors in the genre, Maya Hawke. In fact, it may not be the reason I'm reviewing them now, but I heard a lot about this trilogy when it came out back in 2021, and then I forgot about it when... Strangely, not the only Stranger Things cast member to be here, so we get some charming and very Scream-like moments, and while subtle, I immediately clocked what was going on. A wonder I did, because I wouldn't guess most of the plot threads in the other films. I saw the fly land on David W. Thompson playing Ryan Torres, Maya Hawke's character Heather's friend, and immediately realised, oh, so that's how they turn evil. So I got one part of the puzzle, but wouldn't get the whole picture in part 3 till it was revealed. Which is like having my cake and eating it too. I get to be surprised, and I get to feel clever. So Ryan kills Heather and some others, but is taken out by the sheriff, Nick Good, played by Ashley Zuckerman. And after a few interesting references to the R.L. Stine books, we get the opening credits, which really helps set up the state of the two towns, and the rift between Shadyside and Sunnyvale. One of those names coming a lot closer to a Buffy-themed lawsuit than the other. Sure, some of the specifics are a bit too fast, but most, if not all of it, does seem to be explained in the other movies, like the town starting off as Union, and the witch trial. It's nicely done. We go into the plot proper, meeting Dina, played by Kiana Madeira, and while Dina isn't my favourite character, she can be frustrating sometimes, she's acted fairly well, and I like her arc over these 3 films. Starting well as she collects her ex's stuff and tries to write a note to them, and unknowing of how queer these movies are, I like that her love interest Sam has a gender-neutral name, as I just assumed Sam would be a guy, so when they meet up I got a great moment. We see Sheriff Good properly on the TV, and we meet Dina's little brother Josh, played by Benjamin Flores Jr., messaging with a girl online. Well, hopefully it's a girl, not a 40-year-old creep.
Why don't you have a seat?
Talking charmingly about the killing, connecting it with the town's other sudden massacres every few years, theorising it's all perpetrated by Sarah Fear, cursing the town from beyond the grave. These two are annoying with each other at the start, but that comes from the fact they're written like real bickering teenager siblings. So I guess that's a positive, even if I don't totally buy their bond at the end of part 3, but we'll get into that when we get to that film. They go to school, and much like Stranger Things, from the music to the attitudes, it's desperately screaming at you, look, I'm in the 90s, do you remember the 90s? Feel the nostalgia. And most of the movies in visual style at least know how to cut back and make it look more stylish, but while all of the films do it, this is certainly the one that slaps you over the head the most when it comes to the music choices. I like a lot of the music, it's a good playlist, but it comes off as a little lazy and obnoxious. Thanks to her meeting Dina and being leered at longingly by Josh, we meet one of Dina's friends, Kate, who doesn't have a lot of credits to her name, but I am wanting to see in the next season of One Piece. Kate is probably my favourite of the group. The others, like Fred Hetchinger as Simon, who we saw on the channel in Craven, oddly enough, being too much for me in performance or writing at points, but even if a bit strange like the rest of this world, she does seem to be the most sane and understandable character, apart from the barely existent romance with Josh, which definitely could have used some reworking. The witch is set up well as Simon and Kate fuck with Dina, and the words of the legend are painted in town, like on the mall and in the school's bathrooms. Dina rightfully tells them off, overdosing on pills is set up, Back to that strange Chekhov later, and although Dina wants to avoid Sam with more overuse of the era's songs, Dina is forced to attend a vigil where she meets with Sam, currently being groped at by her new boyfriend. The boy, Peter, initially focused on with Sam, selling the little gender switch I brought up earlier. Sam finally meets Dina and they fight. The longer the fight goes on, the more I'm in Sam's corner. So Sam's homophobe mother moved to the sunny side, where everything's perfect and the good family have high positions, and everyone's rich, and because she was trying to better herself, even if it was in a superficial way. And Dina broke up with her because of it, making Sam's parents' divorce about her. I get it's emotionally complex, Dina feeling Sam was more distant, but it's a small town in the 90s. Being open is a very risky move, and it's not like Sam was cheating on her. Peter is just her trying to move on and picking an asshole. Their relationships and biases are explored better later, but starting the film with our main character being a miserable asshole isn't a good way to endear us to her. Kate psychs up the bus of students well after a fight, so when Peter comes along to fuck with them, Dina throws a whole cooler onto their car, causing them to fly off the road. Why are these so-called shady-siders not being supervised? Not even the bus driver seems to give a shit.
Nobody's talking to you, just drive the bus driver.
Sam manages to crawl out of the car, both her and Dina having Harbinger nosebleeds, and as she tries to steady herself with a bloody hand onto the moss, she gets jump scared by a cult shit. Dina coming to help, and Peter's instinctual reaction is to go full homophobe. See, Dina, this is why Sam doesn't want to be out of the closet yet. All the kids plead the fifth when the sheriff starts investigating, using these very static shots well. And of course, Peter takes the chance to threaten Dina with death, in clear view of the sheriff, who is mentally deficient if he doesn't realise it's a threat. The mossy ground continues to jump scare, and the next night Dina tries to check in on Sam, rebuked by Sam's mother. But after some insistent doorbell ringing, a guy she assumes is Peter is stalking around, dressed like Ryan in the Skull outfit. Now sure, the Skull outfit is very typical for a slasher villain, but I think all of the killer designs in this trilogy work pretty well, even if they're tropey, like people with deformities, masked killers, a siren. But the stories behind them and the matching designs are all pretty creepy, and each one attacks in slightly different ways. So the mask keeps creeping, eventually even creeping on Kate and Simon, who are getting their babysitting kids to sort out drugs for them. And the Skull mask going so far as to break into the house but not take anything, just sniffing some t-shirts. They assume it's Peter, so killing two birds with one stone, sneak Dina into the hospital thanks to a nurse to see Sam. It breaks out into another fight.
Congrats on getting out of Shady Side, Sam. All you had to do was suck it up, literally, and swallow some sunny.
But Peter's been here all night. The fight resolving itself when Peter is stabbed to death, and while not all the time, I do like the smart choices that these characters make. Instead of fleeing immediately, Dina tosses the killer with an IV pole. And with their plans later, I like the initiative they're shown as having, even if again they do make stupid decisions every now and then. They funnily book it in different directions, but since Dina has the car keys, they elect to steal an ambulance, which I don't think anyone ends up giving a shit about. The kills in the hospital are nice and brutal, and I like how they do their sneaking and fighting off the killer, revealing beneath the mask a resurrected Ryan Torres. They go to the police station where the sheriff has detained Martin, played by Daryl Britt Gibson, for spray painting the messages around town.
Those ain't my cans.
You're right, Martin. These are actually my cans.
I'm sure that's just a snarky line. In no way will that line come back to mean anything else later. Of course, the cops aren't receptive to the whole necromancy situation, the sheriff making fun of them, but leaving to check out the hospital after more reports come in. But of course, things escalate as Simon leaves to piss on a building, only to run into a depressed-looking, but as he puts it,
Well, she was hot and normal until she attacked me with a fucking razor blade.
And sure, she is one of those things, but she pulls out a razor and tries to kill him. Now, I get she's freaked out, but this kind of pisses me off. Dina steals another cop's gun, uses it to temporarily take down the killer, Ruby Lane, but then just drops it in the middle of the road when they escape. But when the sheriff finds Ruby's blood and necklace littering the sidewalk, no gun! If these characters are going to be stupid and drop their weapons, at least stick to it. That means some random asshole just came upon this gun and picked it up and went, "Ooh, I'm keeping this," and ran off. They pull off the freaking out really well, but the horror-oriented Josh realizes the girl was Ruby Lane, one of the many shady-siders through history that went on a sudden killing spree. Other examples appearing with really nice example shots. Some we'll see come to fruition. and some that we only get in repetitive flashes. Ryan from earlier, masked killer at a camp, disfigured milkman, masked boy, eyeless pastor, etc. Sam and Dina have a nice little reconciliation moment, Dina at least trying to empathize. Josh figures that the old witch cut off her hand, making a deal with the devil, allowing her to keep a grip on the town, making these massacres happen. But they do rightly deduce that there's more going on than the curse. Earlier, Sam saw the witch, so they go back to the crash site, finding her bones, like 3 inches under the moss. The evil henchman, even more of the killers resurrected to take Sam out for desecrating her bones. They try to put the bones to rest, but the axe murderer from the camp massacre beelines for Sam, almost killing her, but they manage to get the ambulance going just in time. Sucks to be him, he's got to walk into town to try and get her again. After some more well-played freaking out, they realise the killers are only after Sam for the whole desecration thing, and judging by skull masks smelling the shirts, like the one Simon is rightly called out for still wearing, they're also after her blood. They go to the school to change clothes, the gays together, Simon on his own, and Josh getting to see a shirtless Kate. Okay, I get the whole sex in horror movies trope. It works a lot better next film, and it's not like I'm insulted by getting to see attractive and shirtless actors. Even if it's a little weird, they're in their late 20s playing 16-year-olds, but the sudden sex and jackanet scenes feel really poorly timed, awkward for some of the actors, and just unnecessary, especially Simon's. I guess I like the joke it results in, but we could have done without it.
Wait. Did you all go to Pound Town? Me too.
So now with the weird shit out of the way, they enact a pretty cool plan, using Sam's diluted blood and a shit ton of explosives to lure the killers into one room and blow them to hell. It's executed really well and is suitably tense, but the killers just reform from their burnt sludge. The group lock themselves in a room and Kate, while it's an unlikable decision, is the sanest in saying, let them kill Sam. And to her credit, Sam is ready to do it. Wow, Dina is really not deserving of this girl. Although at least Dina was in the positive of not wanting Sam to go out there. They find out there was a survivor of a previous massacre, the girl also having found the witch. They call her but get nothing. Sam is smart enough to figure it out though. This woman, C. Berman, is only alive because she had already died and was resurrected. The rhyme confirming the witch only follows until death. The obvious plan being to kill Sam and then resuscitate her. And once again, Sam is the champ for going along with it. Their plan is to call back to the ODing relative. Meanwhile, the sheriff drops up a cryptic note to C. Berman, informing her that the supernatural shenanigans are back on. The gang hunker down in Simon's work at a shop, and he explains the plan, fills Sam with copious amounts of specific drugs, and then bring her back with adrenaline.
Epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, this is what brings her back. This is Jesus!
But there's a specific time to take them in, meaning our 3 non-gay, actually Simon might be bi, characters to run interference. They take time setting up, Josh getting a kiss from Kate, and why isn't Sam taking the pills yet? She should have started the second they had the pills on the counter, no hesitation. You know what hesitation gets you? 2 dead friends. Dina gets her head out of her ass and makes sure Sam knows they'll be inseparable when they escape. Some of the lines are a bit cringe, but they still take a bit until Sam gets started, meaning the killers have some time to use a cliche metal pipe sound effect, and for the action to start. Now, I am pissed off my favourite character dies. Does it make me like Sam less for fucking around? Well, Dina's already in the doghouse, might as well blame her for the stalling of the two. So after some neat action, actually really well done, there's some more iffy dialogue, but Kate almost holds her own, but ends up with cake on her face and said face pushed through a bread cutter, which is a great effect. And at least the snarky character I didn't want to die went out in a fantastically brutal way. And although he rips open Ruby's neck, the camp killer lodges his axe in Simon's skull. The final effect and impact looking good, but that little sped up bit and its camera work are a little off for me. The Axeman is about to kill Josh, and Dina has the bright idea, since she spilt the pills like a fool earlier, to hold Sam underwater until she's drowned, making the killers disappear. Dina is believable in wanting to get Sam resuscitated, but I don't think giving her 7 EpiPens is the way to go about it. That probably would have stopped her heart in the first place, but eventually she is revived. By morning, they're in cop custody, once again all having the same story. But of course, the cops need a scapegoat and blame the junkies, aka Kate and Simon, for every death. They get out of there once Josh helps the janitor from before, getting a business card in return. Sam proves herself to Dina by macking on her face in front of her own mother, and comes around later that night, but Dina gets a phone call from C. Berman telling her it's not all over. We've got another 2 movies, and supposedly the witch is seen marking another name on her possession wall, Sam being next, showing herself with a shiv in Dina's front. Josh does the honourable by informing his online girlfriend, but possible 50-year-old predator, of the truth, while Dina fucking subdues the possessed Sam. And we get a to-be-continued stinger, with far too much spoiled in it. Seriously, this is a hype trailer, but it shows way too much. So that was the first part of the Fear Street trilogy. Overall good, but the music choices are often obnoxious, Simon could be way too much, and I wanted more from Kate. So a few of the characters could be really frustrating, even though it's a good start to a trilogy. As its own film, the ending is pretty unsatisfying, as the whole point is saving Sam, and the ending is Sam being possessed, so it doesn't feel like much has progressed, even if Sam and Dina are on kissing terms now. I really like the killers and the setup of the overall story, but while decent, out of the trilogy, this is the one I like the least. So I'll give Fear Street Part 1, 1994, an above average 6.5 out of 10. Thank you everybody for watching my review of the first Fear Street movie. I wish it was a little better, but we do have better movies coming, and the oddity that is Prom Queen. Please like the video if you liked it, comment down below if you wish, consider subscribing to the channel, and if you do, ring the notification bell so that you're told every single time that I make an upload. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next review. Bye!
Toast. A little piece of toast. Because there's so much to choose from. There's brown bread, white bread, all sorts of wholemeal bread. It comes in funny packages with writing on the side.